Yeah, welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everybody doing? Woo! Good, 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 good. So, yeah, we're gonna have our intense session, 45 minutes, just because it's a top subject that we could probably be covering for so many hours. We're gonna talk about persistence, but of course, before we get into it, let me just do a quick intro. If this is, of course, the first time we're seeing each other, I have to do a bit of a savoir vivre. If it's not, then warm welcome back. I'm Paula J. And what I'm doing for a living, it's cybersecurity for the past 20 years. It's actually quite funny because cybersecurity wasn't really important. Now it is. My team right now, it's actually 60 people. But when I was setting up Secure, I'm also CEO and the owner of Secure, I was the only one. So it is also quite a big adventure, I'll tell you, to see how, of course, companies are shifting towards having cybersecurity as a part of their business operations as well. So anyway, my background is very simple. I've been doing penetration tests for my whole life, even though because of my business role, I'm still doing it because I think it's very important to be up to date in cybersecurity, and it's kind of funny to be one leg in the business and another one just still do some things that I've been doing for my whole life, but I cannot stop because A, I love it, B, I have to know what's going on, and this is really the only way how I can maintain that state. So I'm also an MVP and the Microsoft Regional Director. You might think that I work at Microsoft, but I don't. This is basically the title that they gave me for like being innovative in technologies, but it sounds like I'm working at Microsoft Regional Director, not a director, not regional, I'm not Microsoft, so that's what it is. But eventually they gave me that, so I took it, so that's great. But anyway, you will see that I really like to speak a lot, and I do, in fact, in my normal lifetime, I do like to speak a lot too. And I'm engaged in the different conferences, sharing tools as well, like sharing our research. And also today, we're going to be covering quite a lot of that in terms of what's there in terms of persistence. Because our subject for today is the uncommon hackers' persistence methods and countermeasures, where we're going to learn where possibly hackers could be. And I would love to show you sometimes not very, I hope, obvious ways of escalating and technically being there in the system. And the question is, what can we do about it? So there's going to be, I hope, an interesting, insightful session as well. So the slides. Well, we always share them in our blog. So if you go to secureacademy.com, AppManage24, this is a place where you're going to find the slides. If you don't feel comfortable about scanning the dinosaur, then basically there is a link you can put in, and then you can see that it's a good one. The good practice, obviously, is to always give the link if someone doesn't want to scan the QR code. So here we go. I guess we get it. Let's move forward. So persistence. Now, I would love to tell you a little bit of a story. The story, like there's so many stories about, hackers being persistent and so on, but technically, one of the stories that it's coming out there in my mind is that the persistence obviously can be achieved when we already settle in. So when we've got some high privileges and then we are capable to move here and there in the infrastructure with some relative freedom. And this is basically why and how hackers are able to put themselves in the persistence mode. Persistence, of course, meaning that they are there and they are always able to reconnect. If we are rebooting the machines, then they're always able to be back. And they just basically maintain the connection in this infrastructure, and this is the status we are talking about. So one of my stories of this year, so the 2024, and honestly it did not happen a long time ago, but actually not very long time ago, is the story of our customer. It's like a production plant where there was basically a case that hackers managed to get in, and they encrypted their SAP servers. And of course, they demanded a ransom, and then the customer eventually paid the ransom. They didn't get their data back. So that's the long story short, of course. But the interesting part, of course, was how hackers actually managed to get inside. And when I was just like, analyzing things, I was truly getting frustrated because I know what I'm doing. That's my job, and I'm doing this for my whole life. So I'm doing it in a very detailed way, just checking what was the point of entry, which way, what is the logon information. I'm trying to correlate everything, and at the end, AI will be useful for this, but anyway, it wasn't there. And at the end, the only thing I see is that the hackers just came in, they were just domain admin, and that's it. So very inconvenient, right? So it looks like they did not really fight with anything. I don't see the signs of fight. I can see just a logon, and that's it. So, okay, so it's very hard to settle that in, but okay, that was really the conclusion that we are getting into, that maybe these credentials were sold somewhere on the dark web, that someone actually bought that and eventually managed to get access to the customer. But hey, here we go. Our team decided to search things in the internet, and on the GitHub, we found out that there is actually the piece of code that was shared over there by the third-party developer. So there was some guy that they hired occasionally on some project, and this guy actually shared the code for the public access that he was actually producing for them. Now, the interesting part that in this code, you could find the clear text, username and password, and the domain name, which was their company name, of the domain admin account that he was using in the code. Like, when we found that out, I was like, everybody remained silent. We're like, what? There's nothing to comment us. It's horrible. Okay, so that's basically how hackers managed to get access to, and everybody was wondering, how could it be that they are domain admin? Like, for sure, they're so intelligent and so on. No, they were very opportunistic, and this is really what made the persistence. And eventually, they could do anything, because eventually they were a domain admin, plus they encrypted data. But if you wonder what's the backside of the story, they actually called this guy. It's like, hey, like, are you aware what you've done? Like, our company right now has to recover the data, and they didn't have a complete backup. They didn't. That's why they paid the ransom. It's another part of the story. But then this guy was like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. This is always like breaks me. I don't know what to say, but just wanted to share with you that eventually, when we look into stats, you can see that 64% of organizations do not have a cybersecurity incident response plan. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to look for the threats, and their teams usually are not prepared to seek for persistence, because when the incident is happening, of course, you need to get into analysis, and then you are analyzing, okay, what's there, and you need to know the places, and these places of persistence, it's not a rocket science, it's a checklist. So at the end, we need to basically learn what are the possibilities over there. Sometimes it's a little bit more sneaky than anything else, but that's why we are here, because I would love to show you some techniques that aren't, I think, really obvious. All right, this is where the persistence is defined. So you can go there, and this is where you got the checklist of things to check for. Now, this checklist, don't get me wrong, it's not complete. It's not complete at all. But all right, like following up on that, when we, for example, here have a persistence through services, good, but there's so many things that can happen through services that basically are not mentioned there, that are worth covering in a session, that basically we need to learn. So let me push this on. And we're not going to cover some default things over there. I would like to show you some unusual ways how potentially someone could be persistence. And whenever we think about the persistence, then we've got two ways to look at it. One way, it's through misconfiguration. So something is misconfigured, something is not right, and then because of that, someone manages to become someone else or be persistence. So it could be, for example, that we don't have a privileged access management in place. We're going to touch base on that. It could be, for example, that we are not controlling the new services being created. We're not basically preventing users from doing that, or privileged users in this case doing that. There could be some issues with the services in terms of permissions on the folder, and so in general there could be a golden ticket case, the possibility of generating that. So this is what we understand the persistence that is through misconfiguration. So we are leveraging Windows or Linux features in order to be there, yeah? But now there could be persistence that's used by malware, yeah? So then basically we've got Autoruns, so anything that's auto-running. Malware could be launched as a debugger for the other apps. Also we've got a DL hijacking. Also we've got the possibilities to modify the group policy, WMI repository, which is also, by the way, an interesting way today to bypass Defender for endpoints. And I'm not saying bad words about it, absolutely the opposite. I love it, but there's always a way. Of course, it's getting harder, but there's always a way. And right now, there's a WMI possibility to actually cheat a little bit on the Defender. So anyway, let's move forward. What I would love to show you, it's a little bit of a warm-up demonstration, yeah, if you don't mind. So we're going to be playing with technically stuff over there that is around the ways how we are able to hide ourselves. And this session is of course covered with like lots of demos, so I will allow myself to run it this way because it's a practical approach always that matters. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to technically, and you don't see it yet, I'm going to technically run the Autoruns over there. And within the Autoruns, let's get into the setup. Here we go, almost there. Autoruns, perfect. Let's go to the setup. And Autoruns, of course, is doing some scanning over there. And eventually, we're going to see the stuff. Yeah, so here we go. Now, what's so special about it? Everybody knows Autoruns, I know. But I would love to technically tell you one story. When there was an incident at one of our customers, I was supposed to prepare the team, the local team, so the customer team, to support me in this incident because our team was there, their team was there, our team technically knew what to do, their team needed to have our procedure, yeah, to be fair. So we had like a checklist of things that we provided to them, and we said like, okay, everybody, now you guys do that. Yeah, so here we go. Now, one of the guys that was supposed to analyze the workstation that was infected with malware, and malware was from that workstation communicating with the internet, came back to us and he says, this workstation is okay. Obviously not, because we see it on the firewall. It's not okay. Something is communicating from the workstation, so it's not okay. So how could it be that within our procedure, he couldn't really find things? And here's the answer to the question. He was instructed to run Autoruns and check it within the all profiles. Now, the interesting perspective on Autoruns is that when we say that, we should be probably more clear about it, but you see like this one is running as administrator. So we would expect that we're going to get all information out. Nothing more wrong than that. So you never, in Autoruns, get full information out. You always get information from your context. Because every user has its own profile, and if you're running it like that, you pull out information as an administrator from the admin's profile. Now let me prove it to you very quickly. Have a look. There's this users thing, and I've got a bunch of users. And in this case, he was running Autoruns as administrator, but because users run registry key for the current user, for the user was infected to provide persistence, he couldn't see it because he didn't really go to the user over there. Now, just for the comparison, I'm going to run things as system. And what you can see, guys, over there, let me enlarge it, is that we are looking pretty much in this area, yeah? Is that there is a certain level of entries, but that's it. We are not focusing on anything particular. But now, if you're going to switch to an admin, yeah, you're going to see that there is this thing that comes up. So we can see that there is more that admin has on the account. And that's the current user, so user eventually, software Microsoft Windows current version run. What's the conclusion coming out of that? Is that in Autoruns, being such a comprehensive tool, you do not have a possibility to display every single persistence at once. Now, even though you're going to run Autoruns using the command line, you got per user profile. So you still have to go like this one, that one, that one. You don't have like, show me for everything in one place at once. Nothing like that. So it's very easy to make a mistake that when you're going to be analyzing persistence, you will not look through every single account over there. So please, just a warming up statement over there regarding persistence. Yeah, so what should we do is to go through every single guy over there, every single one, and then analyze it in a way as we do it. Good. Okay, now another part, options. There is this hide Windows entries and hide Microsoft entries option. Now this is a little tricky because what's the Windows entry? What's the Microsoft entry? Well, in theory, with a Windows entry is anything that's basically shipped with Windows, and the Microsoft entry is all of that. Plus, we've got also the from the outside brought by Microsoft Corporation entries. And here we are talking about different classification methods. Sometimes it's going to be the digital signature, sometimes it's going to be just like that. So what I would love to show you is that normally in the research, people like hide Microsoft entries. Because what's wrong about Microsoft? Yeah, we are not, this is probably not a good question, but anyway, so, we are here analyzing like anything that is outside of Microsoft, yeah, outside of Microsoft, which was going to be malware, that's my point, yeah? So, is it really that way? Now have a look. We are here looking into this area. So we get a current control set, current version, and then run. And then we've got a notepad 2 and run DLL. Notepad 2, it's nothing special because I was trying to put on the different ways of how we could possibly execute things. So you can see that we've got here cmd/c start, c Windows System 32, Notepad, and calculator. Of course, calculator is supposed to be malware. Yeah, in this case, we are using it as a symbolic thing. So in this case, it's there. Even though it's a verified Microsoft Windows, but it's there, even though I'm hiding the Microsoft and Windows entries, because of the way how it's running. So because there is a cmd/c and so on, even though you're hiding things, it still shows up. So it's a good thing. Now, but you can already feel that it's not that straight rule that what is signed, what is not signed, it's shown, it's not shown. But just because of the way how it's running, it's shown additionally. So you can feel that there is a little bit of a poetry inside. And now we're going to play the what author was thinking about thing, yeah? Which isn't bad. I just want to tell you. Like, for example, here, run DLL. If I'm going to run DLL for the persistence, so that eventually I'm going to get some DLL running through the run DLL with some export run client over there, then it still shows, even though I've hidden Microsoft entries. All right, so thank you, Autoruns. That's very kind of you that you're showing me things that potentially would be hidden for me. Good, but you wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here if it would be all cool. So let's unselect Microsoft entries. Anything new over there? No. Let's unselect Windows entries. We've got 2 more options here. 1, regular Notepad, which there's nothing wrong about it. Yeah, I just put that on to show you the difference, what kind of entry is actually hidden when you've got a Microsoft and Windows entry. And then my favorite, and this is what it's all about, this guy. Over there, you can see that we've got that verified Microsoft Windows shell, so the one that's selected in the dark blue. But let's go into details. You can see here that, once again, that I'm actually here specifying that I'm going to be running here through an export. So it's like run DLL, DLL, export, and then we've got calculator.exe. And now, what's my statement? My statement is, if this is malware, it is, of course, it's calculator, but it doesn't matter. If it's any whatever malware, not digitally signed, it's going to be perceived because of the length of this path as the Microsoft Windows entry. So you're looking for persistence and you're switching off Microsoft Windows, which is always a lot of like trash that you don't want to look at. But when you do that and you get rid of this lot of things that usually are okay, then you're going to actually hide a threat. So we could be thinking, oh, this is really simple, because it is, in fact. But it's kind of a tricky way to be persistent, and that is what I would love to start with. All right, guys, so hopefully this is all clear. If you have any questions, then of course let me know. But let's move forward. Now, persistence through Windows services. Oh, this is like a playground. And there's so much. Now, of course, there's different ways how services can be misconfigured. And as you can see, sometimes we may have passwords stored in a registry because we run the service on a certain account. I've been talking about it last year and many times, so you can also check my blog. It's a lot of that, yeah? So I don't want to repeat myself. Now, account is denying all logon types. Yeah, so then we've got a possibility to log on to servers that is something else than the service is running on. Password never expires. We've got an incorrect permissions both to the service and to the folder that we run the service in. But when we look into the permissions case, is it possible to take away the permissions of certain accounts so that nobody is able to control that service and it's going to be persistent though not visible? Answer is yes. I would love to show you that. And sometimes we might think like, oh, persistence through service is obvious. Not really. Let's dig in. There's also unquoted service path when there's a space in the path. So this one is easy. It has to be in quotes. And there's also the usage of the service principal name. So then we've got two types of attacks. We could be doing the coercing / relaying attacks on the service accounts because of the NTLM version 2. But at the same time, when we do configure the service principal name, we could be here playing with the Kerberoasting attack. So you cannot do good over there. It's always something, yeah? But we can minimize the risk, so it's not too bad. So whenever we are thinking about the services misconfiguration, let's dig in and let's see what we can do about it. So, and how potentially we can find these things, because this is really what is the most important part. So, the machine is coming, so I got it right here. Bring it on. And the situation goes like this. So, yeah, lovely. So we've got over there the service. And that's the service that we are talking about. This is the PJ service over there. Yeah, as you can see. It's running on Notepad. Oh, it's not even running because it doesn't have to. But anyway. So I got a service that's technically stopped. That's good. But it's the service is here. Nothing really particular. Yeah, and if I'm going to do get service, and then I specify name. Then I do the PJ service, and then basically it's just there. Yeah, you can see that it's stopped. But also my point is that when we are like querying it, so we get a service name P, then the PJ is definitely as well on the list. Now, what is interesting is that we've got a possibility by leveraging the SDDL, so the security descriptor definition language, to actually hide that service. Now, probably hide, it's a too strong word for it, because we're not hiding a process, but we're just hiding the service by denying over there, so DDD, yeah, for example, to built-in administrators and so on, the possibility to access the service itself. For example, we've got SD standard delete from the back, DT delete tree, WP that stands for writing permissions, but this has nothing to do with writing permissions because we are dealing with services, and this is SDDL. This stands for stopping the service. That's why SDDL is really, I don't know who figured that out and who invented that, but probably some very, very joking around person. And then we've got a LC for listing the configuration, and DC, similar activity eventually, that is related with the playing with the configuration. So these two guys are the ones that are really responsible for checking the service status, for example, or even being able to see its configuration and things like that. So if we're going to deny it, tick, and we got this, then over there, that PJ, I will just refresh, disappears. Yeah, so the service is there, but it's not there. Yeah, so what you see, it's not what you get. Now, we might be thinking, all right, but then maybe I can do that. No. And then the funny part, it says, cannot find any service. That's not true. Yeah, that is not true. So how do I get that service information? Well, I can do, for example, set service, and this is, by the way, really funny, and then name, just to show you, because it's actually quite funny. Name PJ, of course, how am I supposed to know that there is a service PJ? I don't, but I want to show you something. And then status, and then we're going to change its status to post. And then it says, service PJ, so it's there, cannot be configured due to the following error, access is denied. Yeah? So in general, answer to that, it's clearly Autoruns. It's clearly Autoruns. So when, for example, and let me actually get in here, I'm going to move to Tools. Yeah, let me get into the Tools. And then I will go to Autoruns, bring it on. Yeah, Autoruns. Sorry. Where is it? I think it might be on the desktop then. Users, sorry. I know, okay, my bad. I have so many tools in so many places, and Autoruns, yes, okay, good. That's better. All right, so it's way better. So right now, of course, we are doing the scanning, and if you're going to go to the services, then of course that will be the results, the outcome of what we're going to learn. So don't forget that the service is stopped, and the service itself was set to manual, which of course it doesn't mean it's auto-running, but it means it's a service. So it might be starting, for example, maybe by some scheduled task once in a time, and so on. So there could be different mechanisms for that, but what I just want to tell you and show you that eventually, directly, we cannot see it even here. Of course, though, if it would be auto-running in the options, and then it doesn't matter whether it's stopped or not, but auto-running, then you're going to see it. So my point is that Autoruns does not show you all of the services, but the ones that are in fact auto-running, which is a little not great. Because we would expect, like, okay, show me all the services, like with all the possible options. But no, we need to know, like, the details. So this is just a list of services that is auto-running. And service being manual, set to manual, and stopped and started, whatever, then basically we do, and that took some time, we're not getting it. That's the point. We're not getting it. So a little bit of a lesson, yeah, coming out of that. So we might be thinking, all right, how do then I find that? If the service is like disabled in this case, or manual, and then eventually it's like, stop, how do I find it? Well, you're going to find persistence probably somewhere else, because service will not start by itself. It has to be started. So whether it's going to be the WMI or usually, or it's going to be, for example, the scheduled task maybe somewhere and so on, that will be the direction. But for the fact that we don't see anything over there, it doesn't mean it's not there. Yeah? So, if I will be evil, this is how I will play games. Yeah, so here we go. So, moving forward of what we got, then services and the configuration is one of the things. But then another thing that I would have to show you is basically related with the persistence through the access. And persistence through the access, it's something that I would love to touch base on, because it's going to be easy what I will show you, but also at the same time a little tricky. What I would have to show you is how we are potentially getting access to the SQL Server, and we don't have any kind of authentication credentials, but we are on that server, and our job is to log into the SQL Server. So question is, how can we access to the database without having credentials? And answer is very simple. We're going to run over there some stuff through the simplified configuration. Let's give it a try. So that situation works in a way that, just to show you everything, of course, from the scratch. Who am I/all? You can see that I am here domain admin, and we're not going to be using it. Yep, you will see, because I'm going to be running things not as elevated, and we are also here building administrators, and that's on purpose, by the way, because if you're going to start the SQL Server Management Studio, then you will see that, okay, we've got that, and our job is to authenticate, and I'm logging on as admin, yeah, and I'm the domain admin, yeah, so I cannot. Locally, same story, like I'm not able to get access to the SQL Server. Okay, that's not very good. So the next part is going to be that we're going to run, in this case, SMSS, but elevated, Yeah, and then we will see the same thing. Yeah, so whether we can access that database, and then you see I can't. So whether it's elevated or not elevated, I'm not able to get access to that SQL Server. Yeah, so just let's make it clear. Good. So now let's play around that a little bit. So what we're gonna do, we're going to go to the service of the SQL Server, so services MSC. Let's jump over there. And we've got technically the MS SQL Server. And you can see that this is basically the C program files, Microsoft SQL Server and stuff in quotes, which is good, of course. And we're going to copy that. We're going to stop that service. Good. All right. And then over there, we will run that. But in this case, with the parameter -m for the minimal configuration. So that starts basically all of the instances over there. So long story short, now I can try to connect to the MS SQL Server. So just like that, as you could see. And right now, when we're going to do connect, this doesn't work. But because of the token that I was running it with, you are able to run it with the admin privileges, and because of the console that was basically there. And at that moment, when I'm in a SQL Studio, then I can just connect without any credentials. And for the reference, I am connecting over there just like that to the SQL Server as an account that's not even there. Yeah? So there is no administrator, there is no like SA or any, like I'm not that, that's my point. So admin that I was demonstrating, it's not a member of sysadmins within the SQL Server. So if you're wondering about the persistence, yeah, so persistence doesn't have to be from 0 to hero. It might be opportunistic. Yeah, so we might expect that, oh, nothing could happen because this guy did not have access to the SQL Server over there, plus domain admin did not really matter over there, but it's just a demo. But in this case, just because we were able to run that particular SQL Server -m, just because of that, we were able to open up the SQL Server without any access. And yet, quite simple, right? But at the same time, allows us to be an admin in that SQL Server without really being noticed. So that is a lovely way to be persistent. Okay, so let's move forward. Now, whenever we are thinking about some other ways, other things, I would love to get into one more case, which honestly it's one of my favorites, and we always start like different pen tests like that. So I would love to basically share with you some thoughts, and that's going to be the persistence through the not only scanning, but then checking out what kind of possibilities here we got. And whenever we think about that, what kind of options are there, then we will technically, I'll just set myself up very quickly here in terms of the attack. So first, let's get into Kali over there, or pretty much anything that we could use. Great, and then over there, let me see. I got a domain controller, so that will be the guy, and within the domain controller, we're going to make sure that we have a good setup. So the setup over there, so let's just get there. Here we go. And this is the password. Great. And let's just get into the command prompt. CLS, let's clean it up. Perfect. And then we're going to, here over there, create an account that we're going to be accessing, just so that you can see what's the pair of activities. So net user, and then let's call it a backup. And in this case, it's going to be the password or something like that. Add, yeah, it doesn't have to be domain admin or anything like that, but we're going to do the set SPN, and then we will do -s HTTP, and we're going to configure for that the service principal name, yeah, backup system 1. I'll do secure.lab, and then for this backup account. Here we go. So we've got the service principal name created, which means that this is an authentication point for the Kerberos, and this is pretty much how every account that we are using for services should be configured. There should be a service principal name. Of course, you're closing one door, but then you are opening the other one, because we are closing the door by just possibility to authenticate this guy by leveraging Antilan version 2. All right. That's good, but then we are opening the door for the possibility to actually leverage this within the attack. So that will be the way. Anyway, let's see. In the Kali part, yeah, we will, over there, do the crack map exec, and as a tool, one of many. And then we're going to be attacking through the SMB on the 10, 10, 10, 10, for example. Yeah, and then we could be accessing it by using the user that I found out opportunistically, not that one, but I'm actually playing with the user Bob, let's say. And minus p, and then passwords.txt. Now, of course, if you want to do it within your environment ethically and without any issues, then you will need to put in a passwords.txt, maximum 3 passwords, because if you're going to run more, then you're going to lock everybody out. Yeah. And I've been in a situation, by the way, when someone did that in some company, and this was in fact a bank. So someone was playing around, and when I was sitting in a room, like doing my stuff, it was very interesting. So like nothing special. But then I hear that the decibel level of people talking, it rises. Yeah, you could totally you realize it's like something weird is going on. It's like people are like, blah, 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 like, yeah. It's like, hey, what happened? And it's like, oh, this guy just tested the password and that locked everybody out. Yeah. What do we need to do in this case? Because the solution is easy. First of all, stay calm. Second, use the PowerShell and then unlock these accounts. Yeah. So that's it. So it's just a one command to all of the accounts within the domain, thank you, and then, or with some exceptions possibly, or within the certain OUs and stuff like that. But of course, it's going to take like 3 minutes, yeah? So 3 minutes for some of the people out of computers might be drastic in results. So when we're going to be running that, yeah, you can see that, Bob is there. Yeah, so we've got a Bob. And the Bob has a password. So we tried against Bob this, and eventually we found it. So when we obtain credentials, then we can try to check if any available service principal names in a domain are there that we could be potentially used for the Kerberoasting. I'm sorry, am I speaking too fast, by the way? No, just like, I really try. I would promise myself that I will slow down, and that's this, what you're getting. Yeah, so it's a slowed down version. I'll try to, yeah, because, yeah, it's very cool. Good, in bucket, and then get user SPNs. Yeah, and this is the part of the in-bucket master script. Yeah, so basically very useful. A request, and then we are doing the request for the DC IP, and then we are specifying the DC IP, which is in this case 10.10.10.10, and secure.lab/Bob, B-O-B, boom. And now we need to provide the password, which we know. So that is the password. And then eventually, we are learning a couple of things. Yeah, let me enlarge this. So this was the command, and then we got the output. So you are able to see that there is like SVC SQL, backup system 1. One is running on SVC backup, another one is running on backup. There is also the James J, so that's the S4U2 delegation for James, which, by the way, we're going to be also talking about in my next session, because this is also a bit of a silent killer, and it's also an interesting, by the way, persistence method as well. So once, of course, we got that, then we are able to move forward, and eventually we'll be able to continue this particular attack. Now, just one thing to check, because when we say the clock skew too great, it means that we've got a desynchronized clock. And that is quite interesting. So we might want to sync up the time, or I may just do that, and I may adjust the time over there. So let's just change it. For some reason, I may set it up automatically, but I'm not sure if it's going to be well synchronizing. So I'm just going to set it to something similar. I know why that could be an issue for us. Yeah, and then let's just check it again. Yeah. Password. The wrong password. My bad. Yes, once again. p@ssw0rd. Oh, that's beautiful. So that is what we needed to have. Now, what is happening here is that we can also rerun that. Then eventually, we've got that particular different Kerberos tickets that we managed to get as Bob being a regular user. Yeah, that's the point. So when the Bob is a regular user, Bob can ask for the Kerberos tickets that do not belong to Bob, and Bob is going to receive the tickets that are encrypted with the user's password hash of the user that the tickets belong to. Yeah, so in this case, when there was a service accounts like backup and so on, their password hashes encrypted their tickets, and Bob got it. Yeah, so that is basically what we got. And of course, it's pretty easy. Yeah, because eventually, once we get that, then we can we've got the details. So now we can actually save that. So let me just do clear. We can save that into a file. So we can do the like request TCP and so on, and then we've got a Bob, and then we can do output file and then a hash, for example, Kerberoast, like this. Perfect. And then, of course, we're going to get all the details over there. So you can see that this is a very straightforward attack. Lovely. Now, the next part of it is going to be to the John. And then we've got the format, and then we will specify over here the Kirby 5 TGS, and then we've got a word list, and equals passwords txt, and then over there we are using these passwords all together with the hash dot kerberoast. Okay, this is better. Perfect. So eventually, as you can see, what we managed to get is that our passwords file was pretty nice, and then eventually we've got that, and this is we loaded 4 password hashes with 4 different cells. So you can see that we've got these accounts. So these accounts that we were looking at, these ones, they do actually have this kind of passwords behind them. Yeah. So then we can take some of these accounts and then log on with the password or password 123, and then we'll be able to get access to these accounts. So this is another persistence over there. But of course, because it's a service account, then it has to be secured as a service account. So we shouldn't be even able to log in interactively with these service accounts. And it's absolutely necessary to review what kind of service accounts we got, what kind of configurations they got, and the major 2 things for these accounts, besides like expiring password and using potentially GMSA, which is not always possible, is to make sure that these accounts cannot log on interactively. It's called deny local logon, but it's a wrong name. It should be called interactively, so deny logon interactively. And then in the properties of this account, you configure which servers it's only able to log into, and all the other ones no. And then this is how you are able to mitigate the risk around this kind of an attacks and possible persistence. Password could be very strong, but still, that's why it's called Kerberoasting, because we are roasting the coffee beans very slowly, and we can slowly crack these tickets. So because the password never expiring for the service accounts, you can basically crack them as long as you want to. So this is not that much of a mitigation, unless password is really long and really strong. So then, of course, it's not worth someone's time. Okay, guys, so that is basically a little bit about the persistence. You can see that we've got an interesting ways of playing with it, and eventually there is quite a lot of different possibilities that we could input the persistence. Sometimes persistence might be because we managed to get the cookie, and for the end running a little bit over time, but I need probably like 2 minutes. So I would love to show you another interesting ways of doing it. And there is an evil go fish, and evil go fish, it's an alternative, so to say, to the evil jinx. And you've got the possibility to run very cool campaigns. But when you got the cookie, authentication cookie, then you are able to technically violate quite a lot of things in terms of a logon. Now, this is literally the case from the customer that I was visiting last week. So they were also attacked like that. And over there, you can see that there is actually the campaign set up, so email sending profiles. We're going to be sending in emails from this particular warmed already up domain. And over there, you've got the email SMS templates that we could be using potentially. And there's like some templates that we are using, like the with the e-signature. Yeah, so usually the emails that we are receiving with the doc sign or something like that. Yeah, but in this case, please e-sign contract annex, something like that. Yeah, and then there is basically, let's just go here. You can see that it looks like that. Yeah, so this is just for the example. And someone, when they click on the link, then they're going to be redirected to the authentication page, which renders always to be the one that is fishy. Yeah, and this is basically how we will be able to prevent that, one of the ways. We've got also here the target group. And one of the target groups over there, that's like Adele, Alex, Yoni, Mike, and so on. So we will be able actually to use that. And then when we go forward, we've got in here the email campaign. And within the email campaign, we've got a possibility to technically just run it. Yeah? So this is the campaign that we could be using. We could be naming it somehow, and then we're going to be just launching this particular campaign. It's very easy to play with these things. Now, there is an evil jinx URL underneath. And then you can see that there is a target group that we are running it for. And the evil jinx URL, this is basically where we're going to be redirecting people. Yeah. So we have sent, as you can see, in this case, that emails and potentially the SMSs. Yeah. And over there, we've got Adele, and you can see that Adele didn't do anything. So there is an email saying send, campaign created, and so on. But we're going to get into one of the guys' mailbox, and then we're going to be, just checking what's the status. So you can see that in here, the portal and then office and .com. And here you can get into the original logon of the user, because there is nothing bad going on. So user is going to log in, and then we're going to demonstrate how that campaign potentially could look like. And that cookie, it's something that we are able, of course, to reuse later. So in terms of persistence, we are able to use it for that, like, many times in different users and so on. So when this is redirecting it to the Microsoft logon, and for example, in this case, this guy is approving this within the Microsoft Authenticator app, then that's it. Yeah, then that's it. Nothing happens. This user might have been authenticated before or not, doesn't really matter. But over there, we are able to see that in here, we've got an email, so the phishing campaign. So in this case, Yoni is going to click on the review and signed, and this would be the way how the cookie is going to leak. Yeah. So this is a still working method. Of course, it can be also mitigated by leveraging FIDO2, but yeah, I mean, not everybody has FIDO2. That's my point. So here we've got our phishing website, and Yoni is going to be like, oh, all right, so let's get into the potentially review and e-sign. Good. And the next part is that we'll be launching the campaign by Yoni, of course, filling up the data, and then we are monitoring this on the other side, where Yoni is going to be sharing with us the cookie. So here we go. This is the login MS Update 07 online, which is not a Microsoft website, and it never will be, though it's going to be always looking the same, like either the Microsoft one or maybe customized for the customer, who knows. And then Yoni over there is going to put the password, so classic logon, because Yoni doesn't know that this is a phishing website. Yoni approves it within the Microsoft Authenticator app. Yeah, so we do the 39 over there. And then the next part is that we are redirecting Yoni to his original website, giving him an impression that he actually authenticated. And this is, of course, his mailbox, so everything is good over there. And then the last part to check is going to be to go into the campaign. You can see that Yoni has the session captured, yeah, in this case, and we are able to review the details. Yep, so here we go. And we can see that campaign created, click link, submitted data, very good. And we can also replay the credentials, but we cannot do it, unfortunately, because there is a multi-factor authentication. Yeah, but we managed to capture session. And that is basically what's this. We can see that there is a password as well, slowsnail69. But even though if we would use it, this would not work. But in this case, we're going to have a token. Yeah, that is something that we'll be able to use. So we're going to take this token over there, so we will need the whole thing to copy, and then we can submit it in the browser. Yeah? So right now, we can be, if there is no like conditional access introduced, logging on to the portal office.com, but in the name of Yoni. Now, not the credentials over there, because we don't need them, in fact. The token is really what matters. And then, in this case, this possibly could be the case, but no, not because of the MFA. And we're going to get into the cookie editor. So here we do allow that. And then, as easy as it is, we're going to clean everything, so delete all. And then we're going to import, here we go, the cookie. And then we're going to just paste it and then import. That's it. Cookies very important. And the very, very last step over there is to refresh it. Yeah? And then you will see that at that moment, we are, in fact, authenticating as Yoni to the Yoni's mailbox. So this is the way of how you can bypass multi-factor authentication. It works, of course, still today and so on. So I wanted to show you this in a smooth way so that you've got the step-by-step details here, how that possibly could work. Mitigation for that, conditional access, awareness, some configuration on the firewall, preventing to entering this kind of websites with the bad reputation, which you cannot really rely on, but here we go. And then the FIDO2, conditional access and FIDO2, that's basically what we need. So, summarizing, persistence and countermeasures. Well, first of all, there's so many places where things can run, yeah? But then, in order to run, then basically there must be some condition for it, yeah? Sami speaks a lot about whitelisting and all the details related with that. Then definitely, like any prevention prevents the persistence. But if we don't have that, and if we're uncertain what's going on, then what we always recommend is to do your internal, by your own team, audit for what kind of persistence techniques are there, and with some automation verify potentially where things could be. Because persistence has one characteristic. It's usually for a long time, and it's usually silent. So you may not even see that something is going on until, of course, you find a service over there or the WMI entry over there that could possibly maybe be gathering information about you and send them out there. And where? To not untrusted website. Maybe they're going to contact Azure and they're going to upload information on Azure. And then for you, there will be nothing suspicious because it's a Microsoft website. Yeah. So this is how it's done right now. So there is a space somewhere in Azure or in AWS and so on, so that you see it's actually all good. And yes, that service over there is going to be terminated probably very shortly, but they don't care because it's just for the attack, for example. Yeah. So a little bit about that. So regularly perform threat hunting activities, and of course, any kind of like a whitelisting prevention. That's the thing. If you guys have any questions, then please let me know in here. Don't forget to get the slides that I was demonstrating, and do not forget to get. That's okay. The tools, and they're all free. You just need to put this super secret credentials because we don't want antivirus companies to scan them, and it doesn't mean that they are evil. It means that we don't want antivirus companies to scan them, but run them in the isolated environment. Thank you so much. And wait, one more thing. I have some lanyards for you. If you like to open a beer in a stylish way, they do have like a beer opener on it. And for that reason, I would recommend to grab one. Probably not for everybody, so I'm just going to leave them here. And if you're interested, then please come over. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping to see you later on the presentation at 4 o'clock. Thank you.